Ayun. And we're now live again on Facebook, syempre, for another episode of HR Shouts and Whispers. We are now at episode number 39. And syempre, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, a balancing act, total rewards management. Again, my name is Ken Somera. Syempre, ang main host natin, si Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi Ken, how are you this week?
All good. Ayos. Mausok pa
Oh,
rin.
oo, tsaka fresh na fresh, parang ano.
Bago ligo.
Ah, okay. So good evening everyone. So today we're going to talk about total rewards management and why we think it's a balancing act. We have our guest for tonight. Okay, you know her. She has been in the industry or in various industries throughout her career managing HR from country, regional to global in scope. Okay, she has more than 25 years experience in HR, and she used to be the head of the People Management Association of the Philippines in 2018, and well, she's also part of it until now. Okay, we have no less than Michelle Cordero Garcia.
Hi everyone. Good evening. Hi Ken. Hi Chris.
Mm.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was like really, it's an honor to, have you here because we've been really been barraged with questions about compensation, and this is one of your forte. And tonight also we have one of our admins, which is Jocelyn Alos Baños. Hi, Joy.
Hi Joy.
Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight?
So are you
I'm
at
looking
home?
forward to the discussion. I also specialize in compensation as well. Yeah, I'm at home. The usual invisible me.
Okay, so that's great.
Also
Okay.
fine, Chris.
Well, so Michelle, you've also been been you know uh, I think pushed to a work from home setup. So how was the transition?
Difficult at the beginning. I think it's ganun din naman, di ba, for everybody because this is all new to us. But I guess, as time moves along, you get used to it. Pero yung getting used na, nare-realize mo na ang hirap pala talaga niya. So there has to be a lot of discipline that you need to take for you to make sure that it works for you, for your family. And I remember giving this talk about, working from home, from a Filipino home. Kasi, working from home is a Western concept. Eh. But we have to understand, iba ang setting sa US, iba ang working from home sa Philippines, di ba? So, and that's a totally different talk altogether. Pero ang daming challenges, right? You're with your families, with your relatives, pag oras ng kain. Depende sa
Mhm.
generation ng employees mo, especially if you have the Generation Z and Millennials with you at home, malamang kasama yung parents sa bahay. So pag tinawag ng parents yan. So ang daming dynamics plus the
Well,
temperature.
there's
Yeah.
there's an instance that we had to remind. I want our employees are on work from home because it's much safer. Okay. We had to remind employees that if we're having Zoom meetings, I understand that maybe space can be a constraint, but maybe it's better that we maintain confidentiality and privacy.
It's true. That's very true. In our organization or in the healthcare, di ba? So patient information, privacy, very, very important. So we had to do a lot of training, a lot of reminders, a lot of measures to make sure that our employees always realize the importance of data privacy. So yeah, tama sa challenge.
Okay. So yeah, that's like really part, okay, that we are people. Pwede wag mag-listen in yung nanay mo kasi sa amin kasi banking industry. Eh. So yung information sometimes, 'di ba? Dapat hindi nakikita ng ibang tao. But that's just one of the many obstacles and things that we had to adopt. Now, we have so many questions about career progression because most of our members are graduating students of HR. So if you're going to be in compensation, so how do you enter the industry? What's your first job dapat to provide you the correct path?
Oh, depende because compensation management is defined in different ways. Yung lawak at yung lalim niya, depende yan sa nature of organization, how big the organization, and how the organization looks at compensation management. Other organizations would look at it in the payroll perspective. So payroll processing. So pag payroll processing yan, that's the actual payout, tax computations, government remittances, compliance to regulatory standards that you need to comply with. Normally, accounting ang background din na nakikita ko if you want to go that route. However, compensation management in the HR perspective, wala akong nakikitang parang degree or academic background that is pretty standard for everybody because it really depends on the context. In some organization, it can be strategic like design. So it's more on the OD, organization development side. Minsan naman, it's more gearing towards, benefits administration, HMO, insurances, etc. So minsan yung actuarial science background is being preferred. Others naman generalist. Because if you are generalist in HR, naiintindihan mo yung inflow ng talent, how to retain the talents, how to reward the talents, and how do you make sure you're competitive in the market. And therefore, nakaka-design ka ng compensation for the kind of talent that you want for the company. So, iba-iba yung nakikita kong profile, Chris. Depende siguro sa how organizations define compensation management and what are the standards for that particular group of people.
Kasi what happened to me was I entered actually as an ER specialist, but with ER there is parang kasi there's an aspect that you have to be a customer service person. Parang you have to answer why they have deductions, etc. So
parang employee services,
Yeah, so tsaka kung halimbawa sa HMO, ano yung coverage ng HMO, etc. So, and because also accidents kasi madam kasi may cars yung aming agent, sales agent. So, that's how I entered parang from ER tapos compensation kasi I became department head na. So, yeah. Usually ganon, diba? Yun. Okay. So what's the difference naman with, total rewards management, and compensation and payroll management?
Okay. So later in my presentation, I will actually be presenting, at least in the Philippine context, how organizations would define total rewards. So some organizations kasi would just focus on total rewards in the context of compensation. Yung iba naman, it's compensation and benefits. Yung iba naman, it's compensation and benefits plus others. So, dun natin makikita yung different layering of total rewards as practiced by different organizations.
Okay. How about Joy? Ikaw, Joy, palaging tinatanong sa'yo maternity benefit. So, ano naman ang itatanong mo kay Michelle?
I'd like to know more how total rewards can be related to performance management in general. Kasi palagi synonymous si performance management kay Compemben.
Totoo.
Because palagi yan. It's because of increases, bonuses, and other perks.
Oo, kasi ang psychology doon, 'di ba, is the better you perform, the more contribution you give to the organization. And therefore, dapat you are being compensated commensurate to the performance. So yung ibang organizations, they would give, they call it merit increases. So the percentage or amount of increase is dependent on how high is your performance. Yung iba naman, tinitake away yung performance element. So they call it variable pay. So the increased economic factors or market movement, but rewarding performance, which is actually variable, meaning yung level of performance mo this year will not guarantee that you will actually perform the same level next year, di ba? So it varies. So other organizations would consider it as a variable pay. So dyan pumasok naman yung mga concept ng performance bonus, which is it's a lump sum amount given to the employee in payment, quote and unquote, to the performance rendered for a specific period of time. Again, iba-ibang practice, depende sa organization, depende sa compensation philosophy or pay policy that they have in the company. But yes, always yan, performance is normally the very first factor to consider when managing one's compensation and reward system.
Yes. Kasi lang ngayon, it's pay for performance, diba? Or yung mga merit systems. Okay.
Yes, true.
Okay. So, Michelle, without further ado, you prepared a presentation for us. So, let's lay out first the principles of total rewards management for our viewers.
Yep. Okay. So,
I'll give you the floor. Yes.
All right. So, I'll start sharing my screen. I hope you're seeing it clearly. There you go. Is it clear?
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay, so total rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called it no sugar coating. I really designed the presentation in a manner na, it's very practical, and most of this is actually sharing from my experience. So when we say total rewards in the Philippines, again, organizations or people would define it in different ways. Others would just simply define total rewards as simply the rewards and recognition programs they do in the office. So when we say rewards and recognition, ito yung mga siguro incentives, either monthly, quarterly, or annual. Sometimes mga commission-based or performance-based incentives. Others are like service recognition, performance recognition. Ito yung mga awards, di ba? Employee of the year, employee of the quarter. So those types of recognition programs and the incentives that goes with it in some organization, yun na yun. That's their total rewards. There are some organizations naman that would consider total rewards like it's a total remuneration. So anong ibig sabihin ng total remuneration? So remuneration is actually any amounts that you get from the company for doing the work that you do. And this can be a combination of pay or salaries and allowances. And this can be a fixed amount or sometimes variable. So variable meaning the amount varies depending on usually performance. It can be gross versus net. This is interesting. I remember before I was interviewing an applicant, parang job offer process na yun eh. And then when we were doing the offer, I was asked by the applicant, is this gross or net? The talents now, they're very intelligent, di ba? They know how to compute the net. So, dapat alam din natin yun. Now, why am I sharing the gross and the net? Marami kasi din tayong provisions. BIR, for example, the de minimis, right? So, there are some organizations who would maximize the use of the de minimis so that some portion of the payouts will be tax-free, legally, legitimately, okay? Will be tax-free. Kasi same cost naman yan sa company, but higher for the employee because it's tax-free. So may ganong analysis na ginagawa yung organization when they design their total remuneration. Others naman, they have additional cash benefits or perks. Yung iba, they really look at compensation. So ito na yung mga nagko-compensation market study. And they will come up with compensation philosophy na our salaries will be at 50, whatever. Let's say our salaries will be at 100 comparison, meaning midpoint of the market. Or they will really say we would like to be at the 75th percentile of the market. So very direct, very clear, right? So meron silang ganung policy that they set for the organizations. And again, bigger organizations, minsan may mga stock options plan, long-term incentives, or restricted stock units. So these are all part of what they call total remuneration. Now, in other organizations, meron na sila nung cash, which is what you've seen from the previous slides, as dinadagdag pa nila yung non-cash. So what do we mean by non-cash? So ito na yung some organizations would even say training and career opportunities are actually part of the total rewards. right? Because these are all investment that the organization is doing for the people. And some people naman, they really consider training. Diba? May mga tao na they're very motivated when they're given the opportunity to be trained, especially if
Yes.
it's overseas or pagka mga certification program yan. So they really like that form of quote and unquote reward. Engagement or events, anything that will help further or strengthen the employee experience. For some people, for some talents, usually this generation of employees that we have now, they really really appreciate that. And some of them, narinig niyo na ba yung statement na, for example, i-invite mo a good person or a good talent to join your organization, you will offer, and then they will say, I'm getting actually slightly lower. I'm attracted with your offer, but I decide to stay because my company is giving me this. Tapos karamihan nun experience, di ba? Like it's either, he's part of a project, he's part of a committee, they have this program, they have this training, so on and so forth. So for some talents, that's all part of the total reward. So cash plus non-cash. Now, in some organizations, normally bigger, tsaka yung talaga sigurong may strategy na for compensation and rewards management, they look at total rewards in a bigger perspective. So, meron na silang tinitignan nila how competitive are they externally. So, they participate in a lot of market studies. They set ratios where they want to position themselves in the industry. Tapos, titignan din nila yung cost perspective. Like, ito naman yung capability to pay, right? Capability to provide. So the affordability of whatever they offer, plus the sustainability of whatever they can give their employees. And then ultimately, itatali nila yan in terms of making sure that the rewards and recognition that they design will help drive business outcome. So baliktad. In some organizations kasi is, business outcome muna, tas i-reward kita. But there are some organizations na it's the other way around. I will look at my competitiveness. I will design something that I can afford and I can sustain. And then I will offer it to my people so that they can produce the outcome that is needed by the company. Right? So may ganung siguro more mature model that other organizations are doing. Now, the more mature organizations that I've seen, kasama yung tatlong yun, plus they always factor in employee perspective. What is it that is valuable to the employee? So ito na yung sinasabi natin minsan na employee, what's your employee value proposition? Diba? Ano yung, what is it that you can offer differently that will be appreciated by the people you would like to attract? Alright, so dito in this particular concept, especially nowadays, I think it's very important that when we design our total rewards, it is always something that's relevant to our people, or at least to the general or the majority of employees we have in the organization. It is something that they will value. It is something that will actually help drive result. So dito pumapasok yung you look at your demographics, you try to understand ano yung ine-expect ng organization and how your talents and your employees are actually using and having different motivation to actually drive those results. So ito may konting in-depth research ka na and study in terms of what motivates your people. Dito pumasok yung concept of flexible benefits or flexible rewards or differentiated talent management approach. Which basically, ang sinasabi ng mga model na yon is, don't design same program and then you give it to everybody. Because people are motivated in different ways. People value different things. They have different backgrounds. They have different motivators. And kung kayang i-tailor fit, right? I have a funny story. Actually, applicable siya sa akin. I have my two kids, working na sila. So, syempre, nung siguro mga 2 years ago, my son, uwi siya. Sabi niya, Mommy, na-regular na ako, may HMO na ako, and you are my dependent. So sabi ko talaga sa kanya, may HMO na rin ako. May HMO ako because I'm still working, right? Then yung husband ko working din, dependent din niya ako. So sabi ko, nak, 3 na yung HMO ko. Sabi mo sa HR mo, baka pwede i-cash na lang niya. Kasi sobra, di ba? So,
Sobra-sobra.
sobra siya, di ba? Or, kumbaga, ako alam ko naman yung sagot because I'm in HR. Sabi ko, pwede bang pag i-add ko lahat yung maximum benefit limit and then that's the benefit I will get, di ba, as a dependent. Pero syempre, it doesn't work that way. But the point is, especially look at the demographics of your employees. If you have employees who are still young, malamang working pa rin yung parents, di ba? So will you give them something that probably their parents are already enjoying? Kasi baka sayang, di ba? You're giving them something na hindi nila magagamit. So the question there is, ibibigay mo ba yun or bibigyan mo sila ng something else na probably mas mabavalue nila? Diba? So that's something to think about.
Yes.
Lately, ang daming concepts which I think is all related to total rewards. So nandyan yung, the traditional rewards and recognition, career and development is there. Nandyan din yung work-life integration. And believe it or not, well-being and resiliency. So yung mental health, especially nowadays, right? For some people, they really value organizations who are able to provide them with programs related to mental health or resiliency. And for some individuals, they consider this part of rewards, diba? Kaya may nauso yung mga employee assistance program, free consultations with a psychologist, or sometimes bibigyan ka nila ng life coach, or sometimes bibigyan ka nila ng access to a helpline wherein you talk to anybody who can counsel you or give you advice. So for some people, na-appreciate nila yun. Well-being, ang dami rin ngayon, di ba, yung mga health and wellness platforms. Yung may competition, tapos they get points, tapos may leaderboards, they somehow have competition. So, for some people, they like it. And it's part of the total reward system. So, nag-evolve na siya. So, again, depende siguro sa maturity level ng organization and how they see total rewards, whether salary lang ba yan, salary and benefits, salary, benefits, and development opportunities, salaries and benefits and development opportunities, and personal development opportunities. So that's how I will simplify it. So that's one chunk of inputs on total rewards. Now, tignan natin yung Philippine setting. Philippines, we are a very, very diverse country. Diba? 7,641 islands. Hindi ko alam kung high tide dyan or low tide. More or less the number of islands that we have. Diba? And then we have more than 100 million Filipinos in our country. We speak more than 170 dialects or languages. We've been under different occupation for 425 years. We're predominantly a Catholic country, and may nabasa akong trivia, 42,000 fiestas and celebrations all throughout the country. Diba? In different provinces, in different...
Ang daming fiestas yun.
Ang daming fiesta. Bakit ko sinasabi ito? This history and who we are as a country is also the reason why we have certain culture. Tayo kasi, kilala tayo as, we are a nation or people na we value respect, right? We respect our elders, we respect our parents, we respect people who are more elderly or of possession. We are generally, a happy nation. Madali nating mapasaya ang isa't isa. Kaya nga, di ba, sa mga companies, ang dami nating events. Parang every week, every month, we celebrate everything. So that's all part of the culture. And then we're very family-centric. And here in the Philippines, pag sinabi mong family, hindi yan immediate, di ba, Chris?
Meron.
Pang ilang
may tito.
Yung tito na yun, hindi mo naman talagang tito, di ba? Pero tito mo kasi siguro family friend, ganyan. So sa atin, family yun. Friends are family. Office mates who became friends are family. So ganun ang concept. And again, these are just some examples of who we are as a nation, who we are as Filipino at nagre-reflect yan sa organizations. Diba? Parang lahat ng training program, lahat ng events, lahat ng celebration sa office dapat may picture taking. Diba? Pag may birthday, may regalo. Pag kinasal, may regalo. Pag
Of course.
regalo. Pag anniversary, may regalo. So parang we celebrate all the time. And at the same time, pagka may mga challenges, diba? We always like to have the opportunity to help. Yung mga CSR, yung mga bayanihan, fund drive, donations, etc. We like doing all of those things. And so, nung inaaral ko yung total rewards in the context of the Philippines, I realized there's actually one common thread. When we design total rewards for a Filipino talent, dapat lagi kang merong concept of malasakit. And what do I mean by this? Let's go back and siguro tignan natin yung mga organizations natin right now or yung previous organizations natin. Tayo as a group of employees, ang lakas ng malasakit natin sa pamilya. And one very direct manifestation of this, tayo lang yata ang bansa na nagkakaroon ng family day sa office. Yung ibang countries, siguro they do celebrate that, but not siguro as huge or as grand as how we would do it here in the Philippines. Yung benefits natin, HMO, extended, di ba, sa dependent, sa family. Di ba, so may mga benefits tayo, pati APE extended sa family. If for as much as we can extend to the family, we will extend to the family. Kasi meron tayong principle or concept of malasakit sa pamilya.
Just to add, when we had our Christmas party actually last year, we had family, kasi iba yung religion not everyone's Catholic. So we have Iglesia, we have Jehovah's Witness, so what we just did was we had family dinner kasama yung like one parent or a sibling.
Yeah.
Or a family friend. Basta may date sila. So that's what we did. So yun. Tapos nga, when they request for additional, kasi every January we have like a caucus. And they would voice out na, I agree with you. They would want extension of the HMO to a family member.
Oo, totoo yan. So, lagi on top of mind ng Filipino employee is family. Diba? How can I help my family? What can I give my family? Diba? So, for me, that's malasakit sa pamilya. You will also notice a lot of our people, malasakit sa advocacy. Ang dami nating sinasalihan na fund run for a cause. Ang dami nating CSR for a cause. When you ask employees to volunteer or help on something, ay nako, gustong-gusto nila yan. All out support. So for me, that's a way for them to show that they have malasakit for an advocacy or something that will just generally help others. Malasakit sa pagkakaibigan. Again, we're very family-oriented, relationship-based. Kaya sa office, ang dami nating events. Di ba? Pagka January, New Year's month. Pagka February, Valentine's month. Pag March, graduation month. Pag April, malamang may April Fool's Day. Diba? Sa office. So parang every month you celebrate something. Wala pa dyan yung team meetings, wala pa dyan yung team building, wala pa dyan yung tuwing may birthday na kasama mo sa trabaho, they will celebrate. So they always would like to be together and be with friends or with coworkers. Right? Malasakit sa piniling pananampalataya, regardless of the religion. Diba? I think we're one of those few countries wherein we allow inside our formal offices to celebrate the diversity of religious beliefs. Diba? We celebrate First Friday Mass, we allow Bible studies, yung iba sa atin may prayer room. So, we allow those. Kung hanggat kaya, we will allow our employees to have time so that they can also practice at ipakita yung malasakit nila sa pinili nilang belief. We also have malasakit sa kinabukasan ng iba. Again, ino-observe ko kasi yan ano yung common na sinusuportahan na CSR ng mga employees. And in my experience, all the time, parang laging number one is Brigada Eskwela, back to school, helping a group of students build their classroom, helping students go to school, so on and so forth. Ang hilig natin tumulong, especially when the beneficiary are children. So somehow, meron tayong parang natural na tendency to show malasakit for the young so that we help them to have better future. Right? Malasakit sa kalagayan ng iba. Fruit basket. Diba? Pag may sakit, pinapadala natin ng fruit. Or kung hindi man, we always find a way, an effort to actually wish the person well. Send something, a little something to that employee so that they will know na kasama nila tayo habang nagpapagaling sila. And for me, again, that's a form of malasakit. Malasakit sa panahon ng kalungkutan. Ang dami nating benefits dyan. Bereavement leave, bereavement aid, diba? Funeral benefit. In some organizations, they even extend and give memorial plans. So, yung ganitong klase ng benefits, again, is somehow unique to the Philippines as well. And then, in times of calamity, nandyan ulit tayo. Diba? Malasakit sa kapwa, financial aid, financial support, financial assistance, ina-advance natin ng sweldo, ina-advance natin ng 13th month, kahit ilang. In our organizations, we sign with different loan institutions, banking institutions, magkaroon lang ng loan facility yung employees. Which sometimes not good, di ba? Kasi hindi niya natitrain on financial planning. Pero meron tayo nun kasi lagi nating sinasabi na, ay, baka dumating yung time na they need financial help. At least meron silang mapupuntahan. Meron din tayong, I think sa Philippines lang, yung paro-paro. Di ba? Paro-paro is yung envelope. If somebody, yung envelope, ipapaikot mo yan and everybody will contribute so that, we actually help.
May term pala na gano'n. Paro-paro. It's the
tawag nila. Oo. Yan. So, and especially nowadays, di ba? The situation that we are in, unprecedented. But somehow, pag binabalikan ko, sabi ko, amazing din yung story. Kasi, ang daming lumalabas na willingness from employees to help one another, willingness from the employers to help as much as they can, willingness from organizations to hanggat kaya ibibigay, not only to the employees, but to their families, and even sometimes to the community. Now, bakit ko to sinishare? The reason why I'm sharing this is because it's always important for us in designing our total rewards in the organization that we try to figure out nasang level ba tayo of understanding and appreciation when it comes to total rewards. And ano yung culture ng ating organization, ano ang profile ng ating employees, and up until where, and what up until, hanggang saan tayo pwedeng, hanggang saan yung kaya mong i-afford as an organization, as an employer, so that you're actually able to, compensate and assist and benefit your employees. Nowadays, there's huge opportunity to be agile. Kasi ang dami mong pwedeng gawin in your total rewards program so that you're able to drive the results that you would like. Whether business lang yan, employee engagement yan, motivation, or all of those things. I think what's important is, and common question yan sa total rewards how do you do it? Ako lagi ko sinasabi is, make it your own. There's a lot of framework on total rewards. There's a lot of standards on total rewards. But sa akin kasi hindi ako believer sige, gayahin mo na lang implement. You have to understand your organization. You have to understand what is it that you want to achieve. And using that as the foundation, mag-design ka ng rewards that will help drive the performance level that you want to see for your organization and from your people. This is now a combination of different factors that one can actually consider and incorporate in designing a total rewards for the organization. So, rewards and recognition, career and development opportunities, access to leadership. In some studies and in some feedback that I've gathered, yung mga employee, pagka may, di ba uso sa atin yung open door policy?
Yes.
They have access to senior leaders. For them, it's a rewarding experience. If they can actually go and call their senior leaders by first name, ibang effect sa motivation, right? Kaya nga yung birthday lunch with the president, kamustahan with the general manager, things like that, they appreciate. Work-life integration, work-life balance, also very, very important. And again, resiliency, well-being, wellness, resiliency, mental health, all of these are already becoming part of the total reward. And then for Filipino employees and Filipino organizations, yung opportunity to incorporate compassionate design in our total rewards or malasakit is always going to make it an extra special program for the people. So to recap, I'd like to call it na total rewards in the Philippine setting is like a one total reward. Diba? So it's a total reward for the body, meaning compensation and benefits is there to actually help the physical being or the physical body to be compensated. You also have total rewards for the mind. So ito yung mga learning and development opportunities that we can give our employees. There's also the total reward for the heart. So ito naman yung tinatawag natin na mga opportunities for our employees to actually do something meaningful, passion and purpose, diba, that they can show the organization and others. And lastly is the total reward for the spirit. So ito yung opportunity for us to actually do the work that we do through the organization that we work for. Binibigyan nila tayo ng chance to show malasakit to a community. So ito yung mga CSR initiatives. Now, for some people, they'll say, paano naging total rewards ang CSR? You know, some companies will allow you to do CSR and volunteerism during working hours. And that's actually, may equivalent cost or investment from the, right? When they allow you to do your meetings during working hours to organize a volunteering work, again, that's an investment for the company. So if I will translate, that again is a form of reward. So in summary, in designing a total rewards, for it to be truly total, it has to address the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit, especially if you are a Filipino organization or an organization operating in the Philippines with Filipino talent. So I hope that's helpful, Chris, and medyo different flavor of total rewards sharing.
Well, it's comprehensive because there is a misconception of total rewards management as just focusing to compensation management lang.
Yeah.
So I like that you presented it this way so that we have the cultural aspects, diba? Kasi yung iba kasi well, to be honest, we get a lot of questions from our members, okay? Is it fair to have to not have any de minimis? Yung mga fair related questions. But if you yes, so this one answers where it's coming from.
So ano yan, di ba? Different organizations, different ability and capability to be able to provide. Being fair is also not fair kasi hindi naman being fair is the same for everybody, di ba?
What's fair to me won't be to you.
So, my experience has always taught me that fairness is always dependent on why are you giving it? Why are you doing it that way? Ano yung rason? What's the rationale behind it? That's, I think, part of being fair. And when we say fair, it has to be fair both to the employee and the company. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng hingi lang tayo ng hingi, di ba? Tapos the company cannot afford it, then magsasacrifice din yung performance ng organization who will actually be the ones to provide whatever it is that we need. So there has to be balance. Basta ang importante lang is answering the question why. Why is it designed that way? Why is it going to be beneficial? Why is it valuable? And why is it going to be relevant?
Okay. speaking of fair, okay, so because it's COVID season, we have a lot of questions, okay. The most pressing was the development, okay. So I showed you a slide, okay. So there's a quote from a TV news network
Yes.
that according to Dole, it all this like internet, electricity, additional expenses or any expense incurred by the employee on work from home setup should be shouldered by the employer. What is your opinion on that?
Again, depende. We have to understand also that whatever it is that's happening right now, this is a situation that's very difficult for everybody. Okay, of course, most especially to our employees, pero difficult din siya for some organizations, especially those whose business were impacted by the COVID scenario. We also need to understand that we cannot give what we do not have. So if I'm a businessman and my business is being impacted by COVID and my profitability is also being impacted, in as much as I would like to give, diba, everything and anything that will help my people, baka limited din yung capability ko to be able to do so because I don't have the means, right? So for me, it's always a good practice na number one, intindihin yung sitwasyon ng employee, intindihin din yung sitwasyon ng organization. And if both parties will be able to actually sit down and think and have a mutual agreement of ano ba yung pwede, ano ba yung acceptable, ano ba yung okay. At kung magkakasundo naman sila, then I think that's much better versus magbe-benefit ng sobra yung isa tapos nahihirapan naman yung kabilang party or the other side of the coin, di ba? Mas maganda sana if both will benefit mutually and at the same time survive this crisis that we are having right now so that next year when vaccines are available, pare-parehong nandyan pa tayo, both the employee and the company.
You have the employee should understand that the game plan, I think, of most companies right now is to survive 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know, because we have to extend resources up to December 2020, and hopefully in January things will be better. Or a little, maybe a little, we don't know, but we don't know kasi the future. But was a lot. I know a lot of companies. They just want to survive 2020 and just pray for a vaccine available first quarter of 2021. Okay, so let's ask Joy. So Joy, what is your opinion about that news item?
Item.
Ako personally, it's a little bit weird that now Dole says na the employer should have a share on the expenses. For me, kasi prior to the COVID issue, we anticipated this problem. So we sort of supported some of the employee with their internet needs. Hindi lahat ng, it's not, I'm HR, yes. But I should also balance yung corporate sense na not everything should be shared with the employee. So this is a weird stance, part of corporate for quite some time na somehow you have to have a view na management ka, because at the end of the day we report to management and hindi lahat pwedeng i-share kasi we are also the resources are also depleted on the side of the employer. While it is true that we support employee initiatives, we should also take into consideration yung sacrifices they made as well during this period. That's just my personal point of view lang.
Well, for me, it's always dangerous to have that sweeping announcement that dapat sagutin ng employer ito. Dapat, I'm not pro-employer, okay, but I'm just like talking like a professional. If, for example, the company, if hindi afford ito, bakit pipilitin? For us naman kasi, a lot of people have been asking how we did our arrangement.
Mm.
Instead of focusing on waivers, what we did was, because we had lead time, as I was saying, of air, when we were preparing, we had preparation. January, February, we were already preparing.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and we were already doing the math. Kasi there were like some pull outs sa client, etc. So, because and it's the financial year, so we were able to assess. So what we did were agreements, and we just put everything in writing. But the philosophy is, for work, diba, there's such a thing as a social contract. So work itself is 50% the responsibility of the employee and 50% the responsibility of the employer. So if there are additional expenses, we cannot really it's a subsidy, but it's not 100%. There's a percentage. So that's how we view it. So that's why and also we're always naman wary of announcements by the government of compliance. So better to prepare and have everything cost out than be caught flat-footed and not being able to respond. Um, because my discipline, actually HR admin kasi ako eh. So that's why ganun yung aking tactic. So I'm just sharing it. Maybe a few HRs could also benefit from the perspective.
Ako naman, from my experience, again, different people would have their different interests, diba? And sometimes, especially pagka talagang medyo difficult times, people would insist on something that will benefit them. But I've always proven that when people are communicating properly, when people are communicating truthfully and sincerely, especially from management to their employees, naiintindihan ng mga employees. Lalo na kung maganda yung way of pag-explain, pag-communicate. Normally, ang nakikita kong issue is when there's a communication breakdown. Paul bakes just in announcement without even explaining why. Or i-email lang, or isusulat lang without exerting time to actually sit down, talk to the people, and explain to them, and give them the opportunity to ask questions, and in turn, have the courage to answer those questions. Kasi pagka naman pinapaliwanag natin ng maayos at naiintindihan niya ng mga empleyado, and I tell you, our Filipino employees are intelligent talents. Naiintindihan nila yan at maiintindihan nila yan. Diba? Kasi nga culture natin malasakit. Diba? No one will wish an organization na mabankrupt kasi alam nila na trabaho din nila yung maapektuhan eventually. However, when things are not explained properly, when people feel na hindi tama siguro yung treatment or hindi consistent yung treatment, that's the time that they feel, sandali, something is wrong. Sandali, mukhang unfair. Parang may favorite. Bakit ganun, etc. So sa akin, communication, very important. Transparency, very important. And having the courage to really talk sincerely with the people is key to make this, a process wherein everybody will understand that it's a give and take.
Yes, give and take and communication. Okay. So Ken, do we have questions from our viewers or some comments?
Yeah, meron tayong comment dito. Pinost ko sa ating Zoom din. Sabi ni Olive Mus, actually name niya Ron. Feels good to be lectured again by my former boss. We still practice all your total rewards and engagement projects.
Ron, hi Ron.
And tapos ito, comment ni Joe Te. Sabi niya, if employer will shoulder, it may cause additional packs to be laid off lalo na nagko-cost cutting si employer.
Oo. Totoo yan.
We agree.
Actually, that's why I kind of reacted. I was surprised with the comment because there was an announcement. It's a declaration by Dole. The priority is to save jobs. That's why you have to reduce costs. I mean, save jobs. So the way to do it is to reduce the number of work days, etc. So I'm kind of surprised with this comment.
Baka you're correct, Chris, kasi kanina, di ba, nung di pa tayo naka-online, baka it was taken out of context, di ba? Or baka yung article, hindi yung buong kwento siguro.
Oh,
Nonetheless, ako kasi, tuwing may lumalabas na dole, intayin natin ang implementing rules.
yes.
And then let's read it, let's study it before we make any reaction.
Yes, because I understand that there were a few of my HR friends within the HR community of HR shops. They reacted because they just recovered from the headache of Dole Camp, SPWS. So they're going to have another it's another episode, I think, for them.
Yeah, true.
And sabi rin ni Joe, nag-follow up siya. For me, I just told employees na yun lang. Yun na lang parang tulong namin. Considering we saved something for our transpo and meal allowance pag pumapasok on-site.
Alam mo ano din yan ha, I find it that when organizations are humble enough to tell their employees na, guys, ito lang ang kaya, kasi ganito yan. Again, people will understand. But it takes a lot of humility, di ba, for senior leaders, for organizations to say na hanggang dito lang, ito lang ang kaya natin, pagtulungan natin, so on and so forth. So sa akin, again, communication, courage to communicate, and then the humility to communicate the truth is very important.
Yan.
Well, transparency at this time of crisis is appreciated kasi people should know, kasi intelligent and they also know naman. I mean, I think all employees have naman a way of understanding the situation. Yun. Ken, I just want to greet somebody who's watching us. Okay, so Albert Prestosa. So actually, he's the president of our of the Fourth Toastmasters Club. Okay,
Oy,
so
nice.
he's watching us. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, tsaka sila ano din, sila Yeye. And then watching sila Pike. Yeah, watching din. Sila Yaya. JM. Yeah. Hi.
Okay. So, Michelle, this is, so you said a lot of, there's a parang umbrella of total rewards management, okay? When I look at it, or if a non-HR head would look at it, baka maisip na niya, isn't that going to be too expensive for an organization? And then my second question is, can small and medium enterprises do total rewards management?
Definitely. And to be very honest, I don't think it's expensive. In fact, yan ang challenge ko na ibibigay sa mga entrepreneurs, sa mga businessmen, sa mga leaders. Is it really expensive? Kasi imagine this. The pay and the benefits, pretty standard. Malamang everybody, we have the government required benefits, probably HMO, life insurance, a little bit of bonus and incentive, and then a decent pay. So yan naman yung typical na package. But whatever you add, whether learning activities or opportunities for people to grow, events, engagement activities, recognition and awards, lahat yun, pag ginawa natin, pag tinignan mo naman talaga siya, it's not actually expensive because all of those will be driven by the kind of leadership culture that you will do in the organization. Example, recognition. If you want to congratulate somebody for doing a good job, diba, it can be as simple as come up with a simple ceremony, gawa ka ng simpleng certificate, kahit walang cash, just recognize people. Sincerely, people will appreciate. If you want to recognize people for service rendered, kahit walang relos, sincerely lang, batiin mo sila, thank you for, being here for 5 years, for 10 years. Maybe write them a personal message, diba? People will appreciate. Learning opportunities. Sa akin kasi traditional na yung, sige, padala mo, seminar, conference. Ang daming learning interventions nowadays that are free. Ngayon na lang, di ba, webinars. Ito, this one that you're doing, Chris, nakakatuwa. Kasi it's really something.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, actually, we were doing this because, well, actually, it was Ken who convinced me. But,
pero diba, if you want to learn and if you want to give your people the opportunity to learn something new, ang dami ng available resources ngayon. Go to YouTube, ang daming, pipiliin mo lang syempre talaga yung quality programs. And again, there's a lot of people willing to share their time and expertise for free. Diba? So sa akin, it's not expensive to design something for the people. Basta ang importante is it's clear to your mind why you're doing it. And it's always helpful to have a sincere intention na you're doing it because you want to help people grow and be better versions of themselves and become better employees, eventually better individuals. So that in the future, mas meron silang dagdag na skills, they can perform better, they can work better, and even get opportunities outside their own organization. Isa sabi nga nila before sa akin, Michelle, ba't parang pinapaalis mo yung mga employees? Ay ko, hindi naman. But as leaders, responsibility natin yun, di ba? Develop the people that we work with so that they become better talents. And if there's another organization willing to offer them something better, why not? Dun mo naman siya pin-prepare, di ba? Of course, you're preparing them for your own organization. But if there's a better opportunity, why not? I think na-achieve mo pa rin yung role mo as a leader to develop somebody become better so that they also are able to give their families better livelihood in the future. So for me, it's not expensive. You just need to be a sincere leader with the intention to help make others better.
Yes, it's not really, kasi a lot of people think of budgets, kagad. Of course, it's important, but maybe think of your goals as the HR head, okay, and maybe match it with the CEO of the company. Kasi
tayo, diba? Konting lang. Minsan, kain lang. Diba?
Kaya nga tumaba ako nun eh.
You want to celebrate, celebrate small wins, successes, isang bilaong pansit, isang pizza. Ang saya.
Pizza. Okay. So let's okay, Michelle. So what we'll do is we'll present a survey by our friend JobStreet. Okay, let's talk about what are these kinds of benefits or compensation packages that are appreciated by employees. So this is a study by JobStreet. It's a recent study. So these are the top 5 salary and compensation priorities of Filipino employees. This was called, from job seekers. So of course they want the the usual, the government mandatory benefits. Kasi syempre legitimate companies and those that are above board in their practices, they have SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and they pay PIR taxes. Okay, and then of course, during holidays, you have your double pay, aside from yung base salary. And if you can throw in a little extra, yung sinasabi nilang 14th month pay. 13th month pay is mandatory. 14th month pay, ano na yan, that's extra. Okay. So, of course, yung mga ganyan, it makes your company more attractive to job seekers. And then, let's go to the next slide, Ken. Ito, this one is like not really a mandatory benefit, pero it's a delight to have them, the delighters, okay? So, you have yung mga stock option, transportation, allowances, sign-on bonuses, profit sharing, tapos yung commission. But these are what you call parang icing on the cake. And then this is additional benefits or what they consider must-haves, okay? So these are not mandatory, but ito yung nasa wish list nila. So when they're hopping or considering exploring to another company, ito yung mga hinahanap nila. Of course, you have the HMO, medical insurance, retirement benefits, you have the loyalty, longevity, mga synonyms, or long service award, additional sick leave. Kasi alam ko 5 SIL lang ang talagang mandated by the labor code. So anything that's more than the 5 SIL, yung service incentive fee, that's already more. But I heard that in some companies, it's double. Like maabot ng 20 BL, 20 SL. Naririnig ko yon. Okay. And then you have the additional company paid maternity or parental leave. And sometimes if your company will honor the solo parent leave, so just make sure that may ID yung tao nyo. Pwedeng ino-honor dapat yon. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So this one, a lot of progressive companies, mature companies, and big BPOs, they offer yung mga sponsorship on child education. And then they have yung sinasabi nating mga movie ticket. Kasi sa company ko, we used to have, before COVID, we used to have yung aming field trips sa movie house, okay? So last year we watched the Avengers and we watched Aladdin. So that's usually pagka nasa mga millennial yung demographic, patok na patok yan. And then we have yung mga buffet lunches. And then if you can afford, if like your employees are from the province, if you can afford it, you can have the housing and relocation allowances. And yung sa car plan, this is like popular if the job is related to sales. Okay, so the mga delightful packages na yan. Oh. Si Ken nagre-react. Gusto mo ba ng car plan, Ken?
wala akong employment for di na mo sa employment.
Magkakaroon ka rin. May car ka na. Oh, di ba? Okay. And then, surprisingly, well, actually, mga 2 years ago, this started becoming popular, ano? Yung we have like gym membership. Okay, so, well, there's a popular gym na palaging may, kumukuha dun yung HR ng mga plans. Okay, I won't mention the name. Pero that gym membership is also good kasi people are more or less parang conscious na sa kanilang health and then they want to build their bodies. Okay, so gym membership is also popular, pero it's actually surprisingly least of the priorities of these job seekers. And yung tinatawag nating sabbatical leave. So sabbatical leave, so on top of your leave credits, meron ka pa yung longer leave. Siguro gusto mong you want, well, usually it's offered to people na may traumatic event, I think. Kasi there was like one company that I worked for, there was like a manager who had a miscarriage, so nagkaroon siya ng sabbatical leave. But these are parang it's not mandatory, and if it's allowed by management, ito, binibigay ito. So let's just say a survey of the benefits, okay, that one can offer and then that job seekers find attractive. So that's data is courtesy of JobStreet. Parang nag-react si Ken sa car plan eh.
Usually offered yun sa mga managers for companies. Well, dun sa dating tinabaho ko, offered siya for managers lang.
Ako kasi parang there was a time that my incentive plan, it wasn't cash. Kasi tinanong ako sa interview, anong gusto mo, cash or something else as your reward? Siyempre sinabi ko na yung aking gusto. Yun yung binigay sa akin. So hindi ko nasasabihin kasi secret yun. Joy, ikaw, ano ang delightful package sa'yo? Okay. Maybe
yung sa, I think one of perks na nakuha yung mom ko dati when she was working was parang mga sa damit. Meron siyang allowance for
clothing.
Yeah. May mga ganun din. So it was every month bibili siya ng damit, di ba? For work. Yeah. Okay din.
Actually, yan yung palaging nire-request when I used to work in a sales organization. Yan ang palaging nire-request ng mga females. if they can have like clothing allowance.
Correct. Especially if they'll be able to use it for their jobs, diba? So yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a very good study by JobStreet. So it's always interesting to see how the data or the trend is changing over time. So looks like it's still pretty much the same. Ang minsan na-realize ko lang is, um, you go and take a look at organizations known to be giving a lot. Pero pag tinignan mo, may attrition pa rin sila, di ba? So,
Yeah.
babalik ka pa rin dun sa, so, you're giving a lot and still people are leaving your organization. So, ano yun? So, for me, that's siguro yun yung X factor na, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the compensation and the benefits, but also the treatment, the relationship, the opportunities that they get from those organizations. So something to think about now.
Well, the trend now kasi is I think that people want to explore. Okay, and they want to have growth. Kasi yan yung palagi namang sinasabi sa atin ng mga employees natin. It's not necessarily the compensation. I have not for this year, I have not heard anyone say that it's the compensation. Kasi nag-reduce na kami. Do we have resignations? Not yet. Because, well, first is they want to see it through then eh. They want to know the ending of our story. Parang ganon. Parang kung mananalo pa.
Ano?
And then naman, this group of of employees that we are proud of them because since day one they have not given us a problem. So I could say that kasi we were yun nga, if it wasn't for an incident nung December, we wouldn't have been able to do the math. We wouldn't ganon. But yun nga, the reason that we also went through with HR Shouts, producing all these podcasts is because to also guide a lot of HR professionals going through this period.
True.
Mhm. So, ayun. Do we have more questions pa ba, Ken?
Wala pa naman. Wala pa naman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have final two questions. Okay. So, if, for example, you are an HR manager, what are the two things that, for this period, what should we concentrate on? Giving.
Number one, siguro safety. Yung making sure that the employees are safe. So it's making sure that if ever you will require them to go back on site, that the workplace is safe. If we can, provide them also with PPEs that they can use to help protect themselves as well. Give them awareness sessions, provide them with updates on what's happening. Kasi minsan sa dami ng information, hindi mo na alam kung sino yung reliable or credible. And I find that, if we are responsible organizations who's truly concerned about the safety of our people, we will provide those information to our employees. And also making sure that the workplace is safe and secure for them. Now, if ever naman that people are working from home, again, lagi ko nga sinasabi, it's difficult to manage and monitor people working from home. So tayo as HR, I think one thing that we can give is I call it the gift of flexibility. Hindi natin ngayon, this is not the right time for us to insist on certain policies. We need to be very understanding and considerate of the circumstances and situation that our employees are going through by working from home. Basta ang importante lang naman is we communicate with them what are the expected results and what are the expected behaviors they need to continue doing while working from home. Everything else, I think, is already parang ano na lang sa akin yun, parang sige na lang if you will comply. And I don't know if you guys have felt this. Longer ang working hours ng mga tao working from home. nawala yung sense of break time, nawala yung sense of lunch break. They just continue working, 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 working. In fact, I tried to talk to some people and I asked them, why is that the case? And, interesting yung sagot kasi sabi nila, well, we are on quarantine, bawal lumabas. So what else? Ano pa yung pwedeng gawin? E di mag-work na lang. Pag tinignan mo yung ganong aspect, I think organizations should be thankful that we have people who would rather spend their time contributing and working, diba, than stopping and closing their laptops. Pero kailangan din nila yon. So that's the third thing that I think as HR leaders we need to give our people, yung awareness or program or insights na yes, you're working from home. Yes, nawala yung four walls of the office. But you need to have the discipline to make sure you have time for yourself. You have time for your family. You have time to do other things. Kasi, again, mental health, physical health, and well-being is very, very important. So, yung support that we can give them in those aspects, probably not part of the traditional rewards, but these are things that I think will be very, very useful in this time of crisis.
Okay. Sa amin kasi naka-define siya. So, nobody's working beyond the time frame except the HR, which is me. Kasi,
But
then what happens kasi, the paperwork, may mga paperworks kasi na gagawin. Kasi the next day, nire-review ko, kasi actually parang naano ko parang anong tawag doon? Workforce manager. Parang ganun na yung naging role ko. So, anyway, so it can be a little taxing for some, pero you just have to define it. Okay, and last question. Okay, so, ano yung, itong comment ko lang, the malasakit culture, this is what was affected because everyone went on work from home. Kasi nawala na yung party. So how do you have parties? How do you have engagement? But for you, Michelle, for us in your experience this season, what's the best engagement activity?
iba-iba. And I tell you, hindi nawala ang party.
Mhm.
Kaka-party lang namin kanina.
Oh. Okay.
Again, Filipinos, very creative. And I'll share you one thing. Nakakatuwa kasi habang tumatagal tong work from home, ang daming gimmicks sa Zoom.
Mhm.
Like for example, had an event the other day. So nagkaroon ng game. They use this tool online. So nagkaroon kami ng categories game. So the winning team, nagpa-pizza party. So dineliver yung pizza, kanya-kanyang bahay, tapos nag-online, kanya-kanyang post sa Viber, kumakain na sila ng pizza. So for us, that's the new normal for parties. We've even had an event wherein may kumakanta sa Zoom. So para
Mhm.
mini concert sa Zoom. In the office, in another department, nag-cooking show. Tapos
Mhm.
pagandahan sila ng picture nung niluto nila. So ang daming activities that people are actually doing to keep the engagement and the events going. Again, it's really just a matter of allowing our people to do it that way as well and allowing them to be very, very creative. We even had our first online spiritual retreat nung April.
Mhm.
So, we invited a pastor, naka-Zoom yung mga employees, tapos may pastor, tapos merong readings, may konting sharing, and that's it. So, I think if we only allow this new normal to inspire the way we do our engagement activities for the employees, marami tayong maiisip. We just really need to allow our employees to also give in their ideas. Kasi sila yung mas may naiisip. Sila yung ang dami nilang
Yeah, I
ideas, suggestions.
I think it's important to maintain the connection. Kasi
Hmm.
I think that's what makes a company, yung connection ng mga tao. And that's what they miss sa office environment.
Correct. And we have to remember, engagement is not events. Engagement is actually any program, any activity that you allow people to have a say in how they do it. Kaya nga siya engagement eh. May participation sila sa pag-design, may participation sila sa decision making, may participation and effort silang binibigay para maging successful yung program or intervention. So, the more you allow your people to actually think of things on how to engage others, the more engagement there will be. So
Yeah. Well, actually, we haven't stopped our birthday celebrations. Actually, they get their gifts. They get their load. They get kasi kasi it started yung March kasi wala namang delivery, it's dangerous. So right now we're also thinking of other variations, okay? But the pagbigay ng load, it's kasi naka-budget naman siya. So we just you can easily, 'di ba, bank to bank online.
yep.
So
Yeah.
it's the thought kasi, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Ken, ikaw as a non-HR, what's your biggest question tonight?
Sa akin, ang question ko lang is parang if we look at everything katulad ng mga napag-uusapan natin kanina, where do you stand, Michelle? Kasi some are pro employee, some are pro company, di ba? Based on how you see things, where do you stand? Where should you stand or where should we stand ba talaga dapat?
Alam mo, I'm always being asked kasi I'm HR. So people would ask me, so ano ka ba? Are you pro-employee or pro? And I would always say, I'm not pro-employee, I'm not pro-management, I'm pro-company. And when I say pro-company, it's not siding between the managers, management, or the employees. It's looking at ano ba yung mission ng organization, what's the vision of the organization, and what's the purpose of the organization. Because I think my role as an HR is to help that organization fulfill that mission so that it will create better business. And better business would mean better livelihood, better programs, better opportunities for the employees. So every time I'm making a decision or anytime I'm making a strategy, it's not something to please the management or the employees. It's always something na alin ba dito yung aligned sa mission and purpose of the organization. Because if we all focus on the purpose, the vision, and the mission, I think everybody will benefit. And that's where the mutual benefit and relationship will come.
Yeah,
So
very.
this is something aligned that's aligned to your ano naman din, Ken. Kasi people, we start with goals, 'di ba? So companies also start with goals.
Yeah.
So, and everyone has a mission, 'di ba? A vision. So, so that's the purpose of HR, to be somebody who mediates between the two parties, the employee and the employer. Okay, so actually time flew once again. Oh, yeah. Okay. So anyway, those who have more questions in their minds, what they can do, they can just write their questions and we will try to answer it offline. Okay. And then Michelle, so what are your final words of wisdom? Or do you have any webinars to promote?
na siguro final words again, we are all in this crisis, diba? This is unprecedented for all of us. Let's always assume the goodness in others, whether organization, management, or employees. Anytime that there is something happening or something that's bothering us in the organization, especially when it's related to compensation, benefits, perks, privileges, always have the humility to ask the questions, always be open, always be transparent, and always assume the goodness in others. Goodness meaning, dapat ang una nating iniisip lagi is, okay, there must be a good reason bakit ganun yung naging decision nila. And then always I aim to understand what is happening. Let's always think solution and let's always focus on trying to find ways on how we can help one another, both the employee and the organization, to survive this crisis. Because I think ang gusto naman nating lahat is next year, January, sama-sama pa rin tayo, di ba? Nandyan pa rin yung business, nandyan pa rin yung company, and the people that we work. So, assume the goodness in others, always communicate sincerely, always be transparent, and always do everything with integrity. If you need to make that difficult, tough decision to let people go, ayaw nating umabot sa ganon, pero kung kinakailangan, do it the right way and do it the proper way. That's the least that we can do for our employees.
Yes,
Salamat.
that's very motivating, Michelle. Of course, we always hope that, well, we have to survive this, okay? And we will, okay? So, Ken, any projects?
Oh, syempre, yun nga, for business owners that want to learn chatbots, July 11, I'm probably getting back on track on helping people with the persuasion and negotiation ulit sa group ko, Sales and Persuasion with Ken Somera. And HR Shouts and Whispers, ang daming upcoming na webinar na exciting. Lalo na yung next week. Exciting yan.
So we will make announcements okay, so this Saturday, okay, so we will invite, okay, some of our HR friends to inspire, okay, younger HR professionals. So we will talk about growing your HR career. And then on June 30, okay, so we will go to the territory of non-HR. We'll talk about freelancers and how they survive scams, okay? And we are guesting Mr. Rafi Tulfo with
Yay.
our friends from the online Filipino, the
Freelancer.
online freelancers, okay?
Online Filipino
Si,
freelancers.
si Off, okay? Si Simon tsaka si Mappy. And then also we will be guesting Eunice. Okay, so we'll see you on June 30 and of course on June 27.
Okay.
Okay, so Joy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got lost earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so any final words of wisdom from you? Also because you're from Comp and Ben.
Uh, for me, for people who wants to go into content, it's a challenging specialization. Pardon my cat; she's on the in the background right now. Uh, like yeah, my baby here. Content is a good field to enter human resources. It's not your usual recruitment training and other stuff. We encourage, I think konti ang pumapasok sa field na to. It's either you come in fresh or you come in later after experiencing the other facets of HR. So I encourage people to explore on this area. Pardon the person at the back.
Well, that's what you call ambient sound. Okay. So anyway, without further ado, okay, so we'll have everyone rest already because it's time for work tomorrow, early morning. So yeah. So anyway, if you have more questions, feel free to type it in the comment section and we will answer them. Okay, we'll try our best to answer them. And we'll see you until next podcast. So thank you for your all your attention this evening. Okay, so
Bye.
Michelle, Ken, enjoy. Good evening. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye.